Derek, I thought you were leading.
When have I ever led the show?
You've been asking for like 10 years. Can I lead? Can I lead, please? And finally I said this week, I sent you a message. I said, you go ahead and lead.
I mean, I already lead the show, right?
Did you get new glasses?
I did. I already lead the show,
They're inexpensive looking.
Bring them in. What are you talking about? They look great.
They look like the generic readers you can buy. They're a little small in the face. The more rounded look, I think, is coming back.
Should I give people behind the scenes here? Hi, welcome into Query and Schultz, presented by Bailey Wood Financial Group. He's Jake Query. I'm Derek Schultz. There, I led. We had a bunch of people move stuff around for you today. So Vince was here. So. Vince slept here.
Okay.
And started setting up for the show at 5:45. And I know I'm always complimentary of Vince on the show, but honestly, again, like a big compliment to Vince, who we're always 100% supportive of. Charlie's here. Jordan's here. Mm-hmm. We all got here early. I got here early. I was here for a half an hour before you came here. Because I got a text message, oh my God, it's the Combine, and I'm slammed this week, so I gotta go.
Of the two of us, I'd like to know which one in the last 6 weeks has had more accommodations that need to be met.
Okay, so I happen to have my family vacation in February.
Okay.
So you're cheating a little bit.
Lots of meetings, too.
And I was going to say, I like your haircut. I think your hair looks good. I was going to say that before you said that my glasses are cheap and you just, you knocked me down right away. We just started the show.
Did I say cheap?
We just started the show. Yeah, you said they were cheap looking, and chintzy looking.
They're very basic looking.
Okay. I think they look great. I mean, the face is what sells it. So who cares what the glasses do?
All right. Well, here's the thing. This is, in fact, Query and Schultz on the ISC Sports Network. Thank you for tuning in. Brought to you by Bailey and Wood, who are our friends down on the south side of Indianapolis, but serve all around Central Indiana for your best mortgage needs. BAWFG.com is the website. Maybe you get yourself a house and you say, you know what? I love the rates that I got from Bailey and Wood. Saved a little money, as a matter of fact. That gives me a little extra money for home improvement that I didn't think I'd be able to do right now. Well, no problem. Chateau Kitchens is there for you for all of your renovation needs, whether it be your basement, whether it be something you want to do, obviously, in the kitchen, the bathroom, you name it. And then you get that new kitchen, you sit down and you say, you know what, this is so beautiful, I don't even want to mess it up by cooking right now, so let's just get carry out. Why not Hoagies and Hops, which is the absolute best. It is the taste of Philly right here in Central Indiana, and then you wash it all down with a beer from Chili Water.
Bang.
If you would like to, by the way, join that cavalcade parade of sponsors, we are always happy to have sponsors on this program, and we'll do what we can to spread the word for you. You can always reach out to us, Derek. If they want to do that, they would do so how?
Derek at QueryandSchultz.com, because I run this show.
D-E-R-E-K. Nobody knows how to spell that.
At QueryandSchultz.com.
Okay, let's get right to it. Indiana Purdue over the weekend.
Yeah.
Kind of a tale of two games within one game, right?
Yeah, pretty
wild. Two teams going in two opposite directions.
Two opposite directions. And what's odd is that there was nothing in the first half that indicated that the second half was going to go the way that it did, right?
Right.
Where you're thinking, okay, maybe Purdue's off the canvas here. 37-25. They had a couple of three-pointers. They went on a 14-2 run, I think, to end the half. And you thought, God, this is it. Indiana's actually got a full gym for one of the first times this entire year because the balconies and things like that have been empty. And then IU turned it on, and I think they simultaneously played one of their best halves of the year, whereas Purdue might have played its worst half since COVID. I mean, that's how bad that half was. They looked completely lost, and credit IU. They really pressured Purdue's guards. Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman-Renn in the second half had 2 points, no field goals, 0 of 5 from the field, and 8 turnovers. And with the way Purdue's built, we've talked about this, you're not going to beat LN with TKR and Smith playing like that. But the balance for IU, and, it's not a roster that's without talent. It's not a great roster, but it's not a roster that's without talent. And they got a little bit of something from Ballo and Rice and Leal and Galloway and Renew and Goody. Everybody did something.
Well,
right?
Malik Renew played really well.
Yeah.
And he's coming off injury. I think what Mike Woodson did, and you got to give credit to Mike Woodson. We've been down on him a lot, right? But in that particular game, Indiana finally pushed buttons that actually were the right ones. And I think Purdue got in some trouble when Matt Painter put Braden Smith out, and I think just you got to start to spare him some minutes when you can because he's logged a lot of them, right? But when Braden Smith came out, that changed things for Purdue, unquestionably. But what you had in that game was Indiana having more areas that were go-to, that were working for them, whereas Purdue, you take Braden Smith out of the equation. Trey Kaufman-Renn, to your point, is a really good player. But, Derek, it's becoming easier to guard Purdue because people have figured out, wait a minute, we can just put all resources on these two guys. Yeah, Fletcher Lawyer might get you 15. but there's not enough. They can't spread it around enough that we're totally on guard. In Indiana's case, Renew is a guy that has not been, because of the injury, giving that level of play, and they said, you know what? They are susceptible on the inside, so let's go with Ballo and Renew, put them out there. They had kind of been going by committee with those two, and Renew was the one that was playing well, but Ballo made plays as well. They stuck with that combo down low, and then, you got plays, like you mentioned, Goody's become a really good player for them. But I just think there was more versatility of areas of attack for Indiana.
Yeah, and I think there's something to the fact that when you get to the point in the season where you really just don't have anything to lose. Like, Indiana has nothing to lose right now because the season's already gotten as bad as it's going to get, right? And when you're playing with that sort of mentality as opposed to, oh my God, the season's falling apart and all our pets' heads are falling off like Purdue is, I think you saw that mentally happen to both of those teams, where Indiana didn't play tight. They played loose and free. And Purdue played tight and sped up, and they looked like early season Purdue when they were still trying to figure things out. And that's, Jake, they're not young. Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer and Trey Kaufman-Wren, they've played, I know they're all juniors, but they've played a whole career worth of college basketball, meaningful college basketball. And so I was just shocked at how rattled they got. And it's a real problem. This very well. There's a scenario here, Jake, where Purdue ends up finishing 6th in the Big Ten and loses in the 5-12 game in the NCAA tournament, and the season's a disaster.
That's the thing,
right?
5-12. I mean, Derek, at this point, Purdue was kind of locked into that 2-3 area seed-wise, and they are sliding from that. Maybe you're right. Maybe 5. I could see them going even into like the 6-7 range.
But that Alabama win has aged tremendously. That was a great win for them. They beat Ole Miss as well. They played a really tough non-league schedule. They've got the win over Michigan, who looks great. Purdue's resume has done a lot, but Indiana's now. I saw they were the last team in on Field of 68. They were the first team out on Jerry Palm, and Joe Lenardi updates his bracketology like once a week now. What's the deal? Like,
I noticed that.
Isn't that weird? Like, I need the bracket
now. You have one job, right?
Yeah, I need it now.
Here's the thing: Indiana is in a very good position. I'll repeat that. Indiana is in a very good position. I just simply mean comparatively, right? To where they've been. I mean, Indiana is right now, I think they're still probably on the outside looking in, but they have an opportunity here. Where do they stand right now? They're 16-11?
Yes.
They have 4 games remaining. At Washington.
Yeah.
Very winnable. Penn State at home. Very winnable. Ohio State at home. Very winnable. And then at Oregon. Now, at Oregon,
which is winnable,
right?
That's the best of that bunch, but it's winnable.
But if you win at Oregon, that's
it's a tough trip, though.
It is,
yeah,
and the travel is tough, right? If they go 3-1 in that though, and they're 19-12, and then let's say they win a game in the Big Ten tournament, they're 20-12. At that point, they're 20-13 because they'd lose their next game. They're probably in, right?
Yeah, because you would assume that one of those would be a quad 1 win. Let's say they lose to Oregon. I mean, Oregon would be a quad 1 win on the road, right? At least one of those would be a quad 1 win.
But here's the thing: like every team is 20-12, right? Other than like the top 5, everybody's 20-12.
I think where Indiana is, it underscores how not difficult it is to make the NCAA tournament.
I would agree with that.
It is not. Indiana makes making the NCAA tournament much more difficult than it has to be. Like, Indiana right now is 4-11 against quad 1 teams. That means they've had 15 bites at the apple. I mean, you damn well better eat 4 times if you're going to bite into the apple 15 times, right? I think something else that helps Indiana, comparatively speaking to other bubble teams, is that they have no bad losses. Not one. There's not a single bad loss that Indiana has this entire year. Now, they've been run off the floor. They got blown out at Iowa, but at Iowa is technically a quad 1 game.
Right.
That's not a bad loss.
Well,
whereas if you would have lost to like Winthrop or something,
do they factor
that'd be a problem.
I can't remember from your overnight fantasy camp. Do they factor in margin of loss?
No, it's all about this quad 1, 2, 3, 4 metrics, and then looking at Ken Pom and net and all these other things. And Indiana, they score favorably on a team that's on the fringe. 56 in net, 50th in Ken Pom.
Everybody talks about the Ken Pom. Is there a fellow named Ken Pom?
Ken Pomeroy.
Is he still living? Is he still with us?
Yeah.
Why do they call it the Ken Pomeroy?
Because Ken Pom sounds more fun.
What about just the Pomeroy?
I don't know, Jake. It's his website. He decides to do it. Efficiency numbers and all of that.
Whatever happened to that Sagarin ratings?
That still exists. I think that's more for football. Does Sagarin do basketball still? I'd have to
Sagarin
look.
was like the end-all be-all at
Jeff,
one point,
Jeff
right?
Sagarin, which is another guy. I think he was USA Today, right? Wasn't he?
That might be right. He's a Bloomington guy.
Yeah. Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
He came up with a game called Hoops, a college game called Hoops that was awesome in the mid-'80s on a computer.
Okay.
You just factor in your team, and then you push play, and then you could coach and manipulate. It was great.
Like a floppy disk type thing. Yeah, pretty sweet. And then Mike Woodson finishes 4-4 versus Purdue. A lot of people I saw like almost like this was a knock. Like Mike Woodson went 4-4 against Matt Painter's best teams ever, and I'm like, yeah, Gene Cady had a winning record against Bob Knight, right? I mean, if you want to play that game.
Now,
and suddenly, do these regular season games count? I guess. Okay, so we are emphasizing the regular season. Then that's good to know.
Can I offer one unpopular opinion?
Sure.
During the Indiana game, one of the big storylines that everybody had fun with was that Mike Woodson had the chair.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is the chair. I know it's the chair. Listen,
he was messing around, right? He didn't legitimately believe that was the chair. I don't think. I think he was playing around. Was he? You heard something different?
I thought he said,
okay,
this is the chair, right?
Yeah,
the Fox broadcast was like, this is the chair, the exact chair. Maybe they were having fun with it. Either way, either way. 2,000 people claim to have that chair, first off.
Yeah.
But more so this. I thought it was hokey. I thought it was desperate and hokey. I understand if Mike Woodson wants to pay tribute to Bob Knight. But in reality, even though the chair throw has become almost like an urban legend, though it was real story, that was Bob Knight's lowest moment. And when I say his lowest moment, I don't even necessarily mean like from a behavioral standpoint, but that was the worst season in Bob Knight's coaching tenure. Bob Knight, in 1985, that team that Bob Knight coached was the losingest team in the history of his 29 years. They lost more games in the year. That season.
Season on the brink, right?
The season on the brink was the next year.
Oh, okay.
Because they were coming off of the brink of the disaster of the 85 season.
Gotcha, okay.
So the 84-85 season, Indiana started ranked in the top 10. They had Delray Brooks as a prize #1 recruit. They had young players to go with Uwe Blop, and there was expectation, and the season was a complete disaster. He threw the chair. They were 7-11 in the Big Ten. They missed the tournament. They went to the NIT. They got beat in the NIT. It was the worst year of Bob Knight's coaching life. So to bring out a chair and say, we're going to pay homage to that is like, it's kind of fitting, I guess, because it's the one year that Bob Knight would like to have forgotten. So that's kind of where Indiana basketball has been in the last couple of years, right?
But devil's advocate here. When you think of the chair throw, I just think that is iconic of Knight's polarizing personality.
I totally get
More
that.
so than people think, okay, that was 1985, and that was a game against Purdue, right?
But the whole reason they did it is because it was the 40-year anniversary of the game against Purdue.
But
a game they lost, Mike.
But I think most people don't automatically connect. I don't know outside of Indiana how many, like if you would ask somebody, the Bob Knight chair throw that lives in New Jersey, hey, who was the opponent that night?
No.
I don't even know if they know that was
I understand,
Purdue.
but what I'm saying, the reason they did it is because it was the 40-year anniversary to the day of when it happened.
Yeah, but I guess my point is that I didn't find it hokey. And look, this is just a personal perspective thing. I didn't find it hokey, even though sometimes I do find those things hokey, largely because I don't automatically connect that moment with that season. I just connect it with Knight and his personality. And so if they want to pay homage to that,
again,
I get it.
Again, I understand that, except for the reason they selected that game to do it was because of that opponent and that season.
I mean, the fans seem to like it, right? I didn't see a lot of I saw some negative feedback, like why would you from IU fans, like why would you celebrate this moment and like let's put it to rest. I'm tired of hearing about Knight.
More so it was this. More so it was Mike Woodson flexing on the fact of I am the guy that is connected to Bob Knight. I am the guy that has the resource to be able to go out and get that chair and be able to sit in it because that's the throne of Indiana, and I'm the one that has been chosen to be able to sit in that throne.
Fair.
And I hope it was comfortable.
Nice moment at the end, though. The guys gathered around.
It was.
Like, look, I don't – and I know we were critical – we've been critical of Mike Woodson, and we were, I think, very critical of Mike Woodson on just last week's show, right? I don't dislike Mike Woodson. I don't think he's handled himself the best that he could in this role or anything like that. And I don't know what he was. I thought somebody like him would have inherent knowledge of what he was signing up for, and it appears that he had no idea what he was signing up for.
I don't dislike him, Derek, because I don't know him. But because I don't know him, I speak for a lot of people in saying that if there's likability there, I'm unaware of it because he hasn't put himself out there.
I know people that like him. I just don't know.
I've
right?
also heard that he's a decent guy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know it. I've never talked to him.
Yeah. But I did feel good. I mean, just human nature. It's been a difficult year. I understand he's being paid a lot of money. It's been a difficult year, right? And to have, and for Indiana's players, like I feel the same way about Trey Galloway and God, Miles Rice. I mean, Miles Rice has been through it, right? And he had a great game, and he really took away Braden Smith. Defensively, at least, had a really good game, and I think Indiana, for as much as they become a punching bag for everybody, not just for us, it was nice for them to have that moment. Where they ran Purdue, they ran their rival off the floor.
They did.
And not only did they take them out of Big Ten title contention, which was real iffy at best anyway, entering yesterday, but it firmly eliminated them from that. It breathed life back into their season. I mean, Indiana's season now has life. They can go to the tournament. They could potentially win a game, which again makes it a good season for Indiana. If you go to the tournament and you win a game, that's pretty good. Suddenly Mike Woodson's 4 years becomes them making the tournament 3 out of 4 years.
Yeah.
I know that's not the bar at Indiana, just making the tournament, but hey, that's better than Archie.
Did I tell you that I've decided oddly that there are 3 college basketball programs that I've kind of started to pseudo follow?
I think we all have those teams.
Okay, who are yours? You grew up an Indiana fan like myself, right?
Yeah.
So you give me, hold on. How many teams do you have that are like that you like for whatever reason, you don't know why, but you kind of follow them?
I have a reason for liking one of these teams, but one of them I have zero reason to like them, and I do, and I always have.
Okay, are they east or west of the Mississippi?
Let's see. It goes. They're east.
Memphis.
No, but you're on the right track.
Okay.
I actually really dislike Memphis because they were cheaters like my whole, you know what I mean, life. I loved Penny, but
LSU.
No, but like you're in the region. You're in the right region.
Okay.
Nationally prominent for a very short window, but they were so fun to watch.
Wait a minute, you're with me on this.
Or is this one of yours too?
Do they have a new coach?
Yes, because the other one left for USC.
Arkansas.
Yeah.
I'm the exact same. That's one of my 3.
Yeah. Cool.
This is a very this is
up here, pal.
This is an uncomfortable and awkward moment.
You and me.
I don't know why.
They're cool. 40 minutes of hell, right?
Yes,
and Scotty Thurman and
the 90 and for me, I mean the difference between the two of us. Like for you, probably you think of the Scotty Thurman, Corliss Williamson group. For me, it was Todd Day, Lee Mayberry, Oliver Miller.
Yeah,
I've just always kind of liked them.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one of my 3. Okay,
and then even the Musselman teams were fun. You know what I mean? Like the teams that made a couple of runs were really fun.
So I have 2 others.
Okay. I have kind of just one other, but I can go to a second.
I'm going to say that you're going to go Butler.
Actually, it was Fairfield in the MAC. I'm not counting Indiana teams.
Fairfield just hit a game winner the other day, and they showed the mascot running out, and it still is that stag with tennis shoes.
Yeah.
Kind of
Staggy, I believe is his name.
I feel
if I'm
bad
not mistaken. Yeah.
Okay, so Fairfield, you have one more, you said?
If I'm forced into it, this is a team that I've always kind of appreciated because I think they give me Purdue vibes, where they're a much better program than people realize, and they have a much better fan base than people nationally realize.
Okay, let me ask you this. Are they in a Power 5?
Yes.
Are they more known for football?
No, actually, no. I think they are more known for they are a basketball school. They really haven't had a lot of football success. They've been a lot like Purdue in football, honestly.
If you went to this university in January, would you need a winter coat?
Yeah. It's not a place that you want to be any month out of the year. In fact, not just from a weather-wise standpoint.
Even in the summer?
Fun teams. They've won with many different coaches. They've had a couple of pro guys, but not super prominent pro guys.
Have they won a title?
No. I don't think so.
UMass?
No. More relevant.
Okay.
In the mix more often nationally.
They're not a Power 5.
Than UMass. And UMass is not a Power 5. Yeah.
West of the Mississippi or east of the Mississippi?
Oh, God. They're west of the Mississippi. Yeah. Yep. Because west of the Mississippi.
Minnesota?
No.
All right, hit me.
Iowa State.
I was going to say Iowa State.
Yeah. Hilton Coliseum is like one of the toughest places to play. They're almost always good. They're really good this year.
Iowa State has a better football program than Purdue.
Go back and look.
The last 10 years?
I think Iowa's, well, maybe the last 10 years, but I don't know. I think Iowa State's won like a single-digit amount of bowl games.
Is Iowa State getting ready, by the way, to lose their basketball coach to Indiana?
Maybe. That seems to be what a lot of people think. Bowl record all time for Iowa State, 6-13.
But what's the last 10 years? What are their season? How many wins did they average?
Yeah, I mean they had Brock Purdy and Matt Campbell, and right they've been a lot better. I mean they've been in a bowl game 2017, 18, 19, 20 season, 21, 23, and 24. So 7 out of the last 8 years they've been in a bowl game. So that's a lot better than what they had been.
I've always kind of liked UCLA. I guess now they're in the Big Ten, so maybe I need to pull the reins on that.
And,
but and St. Mary's is now.
Yeah, I knew about St. Mary's just because you and Randy Bennett are old buds.
Yeah,
they're having a great season.
They're good. He's a hell of a coach.
Yeah,
Randy Bennett for Indiana.
His mom still lives in Southport, right?
Just moved with his sister to, I believe, Minnesota.
Oh, bummer. Okay.
But yes, grew up in his dad coached in Anderson.
God, they got to go from California to Minnesota. Talk about a tough trip.
Yeah.
That's really rough. Time for our Hoagie and our hero of the week. Brought to you by our friends at Hoagies and Hops. We actually went in there Sunday night. So
this looks spectacular.
I was very Midwestern dad on Sunday because it got up into the mid-40s.
You ended up by wearing a flannel unbuttoned?
Well, no. It's just a little too buttoned up. It's a little too formal for this show to do the button. It was 45 degrees, and I had a T-shirt on all day. I was like, this feels amazing. Let's go for a walk. Let's go to Hoagies and Hops and walk. And I take James down there, and Ash is like, well, I want to come too. And I'm like, are you sure it's under 70 degrees? Are you sure that you want to go outside? Because my wife is cold. Is Shannon like that? She's cold
Vermont.
all the time. It doesn't matter. She's cold all the time.
Okay.
And so we went for a walk to Hoagies and Hops, and it was windy, and I think Ash was kind of miserable the entire time. But we ended up warming up with cheesesteaks. Wow. So we had cheesesteaks there, Sunday night dinner, and then picked up the Hog Island. This was the reason for all of it, for Christina to open up the shop. So this is their take on the Italian. LTO. So those are the condiments you put on there. A little prove and a bunch of meats. You got some prosciutto, you got some salami, you got gabagool, and Lisio's South Jersey bread shipped in daily.
Fabulous. And
it tastes like the contest.
I love the dark Mexican lager, right? Mama tried, right?
Yeah, we've had Mama tried on a couple of times. I think they still have it on tap. You can get the canned version, obviously, in the fridge there at Chili Water Tap Room. Right,
it's very smooth, actually. Dark Mexican lager, very smooth from Chili Water. You can have it right there on tap, which is awesome. Go get your sandwich while they're preparing the Zaire, for example. Step right, literally, when I say next door, it's basically the same building. Get yourself a pint. They got games on.
And this is the time of year. Or it's about to be the time of year where they start opening up the doors. And the breeze comes in, and you can sit there in the Chili Water Tap Room. You sit out on the patio. You can have a sando. You can have a beer. It is the best. Hoagies and Hops in the springtime, the absolute freaking best. Lock up my bike on the fence right there.
I thought you walk.
Awesome. Well, sometimes I walk, but if it's really nice, sometimes I'll just ride my bike. Let the breeze go in my hair. Do you ride a bicycle? We could be bike buds.
I took a picture that time of you. Your bike out in front of a bar.
Okay, yeah. That actually went semi-viral, which really hurt my feelings that people latched onto that much.
I can send the guys.
I thought it was remotely funny. I didn't think it was that funny.
No, I'll send it might take a second for me to find it.
Hero of the week, I just mentioned him, Miles Rice, has very much had an up and down season. Was thought to be the guy that was going to really change IU's offense, and he hasn't really done that, at least not on a consistent basis. And he did not particularly shoot the ball well during Saturday's win, but he helped shut down Braden Smith. I thought he redeemed himself. The worst game of his season was probably the Purdue game in West Lafayette, where I don't think he scored, and then he had the turnover at the very end of the game. But if he could get back on track, Indiana could actually salvage something from this season, honestly. I'm not writing off that fact. I was there.
How would you define salvage?
Go to the NCAA tournament and win a game. Now, winning a game might be the first 4 game in Dayton, but it still counts as an NCAA tournament win. My last year there, now I graduated IU in 2005. But my last year there, I did a victory lap year because all my roommates were under me, and we still had the lease on the house, so I was like, I'm not ready to move yet. was the Mike Davis 05-06 year, which was like this, where Davis, they had the Iowa game where he basically called in sick, and it got as bad as it could get and as toxic as it could get. And then Davis announces that he's resigning, and the team eventually kind of got back on track, and by the end of the year, they were playing pretty good basketball. Now, they had banked much better wins than this IU team had banked, and they were, I think, pound for pound, a better team. It was like Marco Killingsworth and Marshall Strickland was a senior on that team, and Roderick Wilmon, and I think Earl Calloway was still there, who was a really underrated player.
He was
a good player. And they ended up they were in the 6-11 game. They beat San Diego State, I believe was the team that they played, and then they lost to Gonzaga. It was kind of a close game. Adam Morrison's Gonzaga team in the NCAA tournament. And I'm not saying that same fate.
Now, let me ask you this. If they get into a play-in game and they...
First 4 game. Can't call it play-in. They're already in the tournament. It's the first 4.
That's what I was going to ask. Is that a tournament game?
Yes, because Indiana just did that. Remember who they beat?
Wyoming.
Yeah. I knew you'd know because it's Wyoming. Trace Jackson Davis. That was the team that snuck in that in Woodson's first year.
Here we go. Vince has the photo. There it is right there.
Yeah.
I noticed that you had gone out.
Yeah, a lot of people laughed at this.
Get yourself something to eat. And
thought it was real funny.
I thought it was – look, you locked your bike up and everything.
Yeah, it's so funny. Look, it's got training wheels. I'll give you this. The fact that it is the only bike that's out there does make it funnier than under normal circumstances. I'll give you that.
And it's locked up and it's a bar.
When I saw it, because I don't get Twitter notifications because then my phone would just be going off all the time, but people started texting me about the tweet. And so when I saw it, I was like, okay, that's pretty good. But I didn't expect like 3 days later to still be hearing about it. And like that tweet had some staying power.
Derek went out on his widow bike. Yeah. Got a widow.
Hoagiesandops.com, 42nd and Boulevard, Hog Island, Mama Tried, any of their Sandos, any of the beers at Chili Water. Absolutely awesome, delicious, fresh. Really, really good. Check them out. We come back, NFL Combine Week. We'll talk about what the Colts might be looking at, what they may do. Ballard availability actually is later today, which I'm kind of bummed about with the timing of the show, even though I don't think they're going to tell us anything because they never do.
Right.
But Ballard and Steichen both are slated to speak at the Combine later today. But we'll talk Combine, we'll talk Pacers, and a little Horizon League as well when we return. It's Corey and Schultz presented by Bailey & Wood Financial Group here on the ISC Sports Network.
Tonight.
You know we cover all sports in Central Indiana. Hop in. It's going to be a long night.
Bailey & Wood Mortgage Lender, proud partner of News 8 Sports Hummer.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh!
Bailey & Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Welcome back. It's Corey and Schultz. ISC Sports Network. Thanks to Vince, Charlie, Jordan, the rest of the crew for getting here early to accommodate Jake because it's Jake's world and we're just all living in it. That's the bottom line.
I asked him to be here like 5 minutes early.
But you got to understand, Jake is in a spectacular mood today because his absolute number, well, I don't want to overstate it, besides the Indianapolis 500, Jake's absolute number one most favorite sporting event of the year is here. It is NFL Combine Week at Lucas Oil Stadium.
Okay. My annual...
Jake's favorite.
I will simply say this.
Loves it. Underwear Olympics, baby.
In the early years of the NFL Combine, it's super important stuff. Like, nobody's allowed in. I mean, it's top secret. Literally, it's scouts, general managers, and players only. No media's allowed in, no cameras, no whispers, nothing. It's like Fight Club. You don't even know what happens in there. And if you're in there, you don't even talk about it. Nobody can know. It's the most important aspect of the NFL draft. Teams are made here at the Combine. That was the narrative for 10 years. Then one day, the NFL said, you know what? People seem interested in this. Do you think we can actually make money? Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give away a sweepstakes where 500 people are going to be able to come into the NFL Combine. Enter now at your local 7-Eleven for your chance to see the top secret. Only Fort Knox level security people are allowed in to see the NFL Combine. And they let these people in, and the people went, yeah, it's kind of boring. Then they said, no, it's not boring. We're going to put it on. We're going to let 1,000 people in. General admission. You can come in, you can wear a headset, you can hear what's going on, you can come in, and people came in and literally said, it's like dudes running around and offensive linemen doing high jump drills. It's the weirdest thing ever. And they said, no. It's the medical. It's the medical that you don't get to see. That's what's important. And then once they realized we could monetize this and put it on TV 24/7, 365, and everybody watched it and went, I don't know, this is kind of like the same thing after a while. Then the narrative became, well, nothing there happens. It's all about the medicals and the conversations. It's just a boys' club. And all the female waitresses at steak restaurants around town are like, I'd kind of like to take it off because it's just basically a drunken, boorish selfie fest, right? There's your synopsis of the NFL Combine. But it is interesting when you have a definitive number one pick or a controversy as who's going to be the number one pick. This feels kind of like a dry year for the Combine.
And I want it here.
I would agree,
I think,
of course.
And there are other NFL markets like Jacksonville, I know, is one that just talks NFL 24/7, 365, right? Even when they have a bad football team year after year after year. I don't know if the relevance of this hits other places like it does here. I think it's, the NFL is always relevant. But because it's right here in the backyard, I think naturally there's more of a spotlight for Indianapolis sports media on the NFL Combine. And it's the end of the dead period. The only real dead period for the NFL anymore is basically the 2 to 3 weeks after the Super Bowl. That's it. Like every other time of the year, stuff is happening because you think about it, the Combine, right? Into free agency, into the draft coverage, into mini camp, into OTAs, into training camp, into the preseason, into the season. And so there is no, some people say, well, there's that stretch in June where OTAs and all of that ends, and then there's like 3 weeks off before training camp. Okay, I guess that's another dead period. But for the most part, after the Super Bowl is the only time where there's no news. None. Zero. Nothing. The Eagles parade happens, and nothing happens for 2 weeks. And then this resumes the NFL news cycle. So I understand the interest when it comes to that. But yeah, is it the most overrated thing that we do all year long in sports? Absolutely it is. There's just not a lot that happens there. There's not a lot of relevant things said. The workout stuff is relevant for the draft nicks, and I'll be honest, Jake, it does, like suddenly everybody's a draft expert. I've watched this player, I've watched film on this guy, and
Look at
great.
the foot twitch.
Great. Great.
Look at his hitch coming out of the break.
It's still a bunch of groupthink, right? And it's groupthink to the point like, Tyler Warren, who's the Penn State tight end, who a lot of people felt like was the number one tight end. I'm even seeing stuff like, Warren's not even like the third guy on my board because so-and-so and blah, 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 blah. And it's like people are trying to like differentiate themselves, right? And go against the grain and the whole deal. General consensus is that the 2025 draft class lacks blue chip players. Even though I would argue Abdul Carter at Penn State is pretty freaking good from what I've seen. Now, he's a Big Ten guy, and they played Notre Dame in the playoff, right? And they went to the playoffs, so I watched a lot of Penn State, but I think he's incredible. But it has a lot of starter caliber players, which is actually right in Chris Ballard's wheelhouse.
Depth, right?
Where what I've read is that the guy that you're taking at 14 and the guy that you're taking at 40, the gap is like this.
Right.
And that probably bodes well for the Colts, who need a lot of good starter-level players. And they need some blue chips and some different makers, too. Who doesn't? But I think the Colts, especially defensively, need to maybe rebuild their roster a little bit.
So let's go over our Combine buzzwords. These are buzzwords to look out for. You ready?
Yeah.
Burst.
Burst is a good one.
He's got great burst.
See, I was going to say explosion, but that kind of goes on burst.
Twitch.
Twitch became a thing like 10 years ago, I feel like.
Wiggle.
And you've never...
He's got a wiggle. Yeah. And his route, he's got a wiggle on his route that just, when you see it, you'll know it. Okay?
It's just a lot of... It's the most overanalyzed thing.
Length.
And everything in sports is overanalyzed. That's the news cycle that we're in now in 2025.
Hand size.
Yeah. Even though I think hand size is becoming less of a thing, right?
Is it?
A little bit less? I don't know.
Kenny Pickett hopes so.
Kenny Pickett still in the league somewhere? Is he a backup somewhere?
Widow hands.
Yeah, he's got little hands. Yeah. That is also something, unfortunately, that I have.
What's that?
I have small hands. Yeah.
What's your hand size?
I don't know, but it would be small.
Let's see. Hold on.
Remember I put my hand up to George Hill's one time, and it looked like Godzilla was touching a ferret? I mean, it was insane.
Hold on. We're gonna do a comparison here.
Okay.
We're gonna do hand size comparison.
You and me?
Yes.
Just touch my hand.
No.
I'm not tracing my hand like I'm a freaking kindergartner. Just touch my hand. Here.
No, it's okay.
Here.
Okay, then you
Put
do
your
this.
hand up on my hand.
Put your hand on my hand.
No,
Put
that's
your
not
hand
good.
on that.
That doesn't work.
Your hand is tight. Wow.
No, like put your hand.
That is unbelievable. I'm not touching your palm.
Put your hand on my hand.
I'm not.
Look they're clean. They're not sweaty at all.
They're
It might have some. I might have a little bit of olive oil from the
clammy.
Hoagie.
I don't do.
Hoagie, they're not
Just
clammy.
put it this way. Next
Here,
side by side.
do this.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, side by side. Let's do that. All right, here we go. Ready? Look on there, and then
okay.
yeah. See,
You
it's
tou-
a little
you
bit. It's
touched
a
it.
little bit smaller. It's a little bit smaller. So actually, you have small hands for your size. You have small hands too.
Here, I'm actually doing this right here. This is.
It's just weird because it's one of the few things. Like, and yes, I guess on the height level, I'm a little bit on the small side too. But I'm basically above average to way
There we
above
go.
average
There it
in
is,
every
Derek.
other category.
There it is.
No, that's not what it is.
That's exactly what it is.
That's not what it is.
Uh-huh.
No, that's not the actual hand. See, like see, I'm touching your hand. There we go. And then
I can feel the clamminess.
touch my hand.
No, that's
There.
You're disgusting me. Just so you know.
I'm way above average to extremely above average in every other like size category of like appendages and things like that on my body. So it's just weird that my hands are that way. You heard what I said. Yeah. You heard it.
Like forehead.
Forehead's very large. Yeah. That was not what I was going for, but yeah.
Pacers are, after last night, I guess brought back down to earth a little bit with Denver. Back to back though. You don't read a lot into that, right?
Yeah, Sega Baba's tough.
No.
And Denver's really good. Here's what I'll say about the Pacers. The Pacers are firmly a good basketball team. I think we would agree that. They navigated through whatever was happening in the first couple of weeks of the season.
Whoa. It says Jake actually has small hands.
Yeah, that's a factual statement.
No.
Yeah. You do.
No.
Yeah, you do. We just proved it. Compared to mine. See? And you got you're 4 or 5 inches taller than me. So that's the other thing. Indiana entered today tied with the Bucks. We're taping this right now early Tuesday morning to accommodate Jake's schedule once again. 4th in the East, 2 games up in the loss column from 6th place Detroit. They're in a good spot. And they can beat these teams. I mean, we've seen them beat the Celtics. They've beaten Cleveland. They've only played the Thunder once and lost, and they've only played Denver once and lost, right? But overall, they've had the propensity to beat the better teams in the league. I think what you worry about with the Pacers is that, to me, especially in this year's NBA, there's just a big gap between like the real title contenders and the teams that are on the second level. I think the Knicks are going through it right now, where the Knicks are really good. Like, the Knicks are a good team, but the Knicks play Cleveland and Boston, and they get run off the floor,
right?
Because those teams are just a tier above them.
I think, Derek, I put the Knicks though closer to those two than I do to Indiana.
Yeah,
because of Karl Anthony Towns. So I think the top 3 seeds are pretty. I think Indiana is almost locked into the 4 seed.
They'll have to fight off Milwaukee and maybe even Detroit. I mean, Cade Cunningham's playing well, and Detroit's really turned it around. I think they have more wins this year than they've had in like the last 2 years combined.
Yeah, I mean Detroit, but I think Indiana's pretty good.
Me too. But I just want to temper expectations because I think, this is a team and a franchise that has always kind of had that glass ceiling, and it's like, hey, we're good, but we're not great, and you're bumping your head up against that over and over again. And I think this is another year where the Pacers inevitably are going to bump their head up against that. I think they can win a first-round series. I think maybe they can even win a second-round series. I think it's going to be the same thing. And then they'll play a lopsided Eastern Conference Finals. I think that's like the high water mark for them this year because they're just not quite in a 7-game series against a team like Denver with a player like Jokic or a team like the Thunder with a player like SGA or a team like Boston. I don't think they can win 4 out of
Derek, watching Jokic last night, there is no player in sport who is more laborious looking in his effort than Jokic. But he is just almost unflappable.
Yeah.
But everything runs through him, and the way that they run – the pick and roll with him, and then his ability to distribute is very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it's coming to the point now where I think when it's all said and done, he's going to end up being like a top 10 to 15 level player all time. Like, that's how good he is.
He had 20 assists last night.
Yeah. He's an unbelievably gifted. He's one of the best passers in NBA history.
Correct.
Regardless of size. Like, I'm saying,
right.
like, one of the best passers,
and then,
not
like
as a big guy.
When he shoots.
Just in general.
When he shoots, it's literally like he's standing there looking on where he's going to pass the ball, and then he's like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
And it goes in.
Like, he might win a 4th MVP.
Yeah, I know.
4 MVPs.
He's very good.
You know, some of that is, okay, era and all of that, I guess. You know, who you compete, you know, you get competing against Jason Tatum for MVPs as opposed to, you know, playing the same era as Jordan or something like that. Okay.
You know, one thing about
But
Jokic
still, it's crazy.
that really impressed me, and I'm going to mention this on the radio show as well. I don't know him, but after the game, so the clock's winding down. It was one of those things where the Denver had the ball and there was 29 seconds left in the game or whatever, and it's over. So they just run out the shot clock and there's 5 seconds left. Indiana gets the ball back. So that 5 seconds is just people giving a high five. Whatever. Jokic went over and sought out every player on the floor, and then went over to the Pacers bench and shook hands and said hello to every single staff member, assistant coaches, trainers, whatever else, and then walked off the floor.
Yeah.
Just seemed like a very good sportsman-like thing to do.
He seems to be a guy that's completely unimpressed with himself, too, which I always find to be a very endearing for somebody that is elite at what they do. Completely unimpressed by himself. I would not put you in that category.
Okay.
The calendar is about to turn to March. As you know, we're just a couple of weeks away from postseason basketball, and tickets are on sale now. Make your plans to be in Indy on March 10th and 11th for the 2025 Barbasol Horizon League Basketball Championships. You get everything from us here on the show. You visit horizonleague.com/Indy for championships info and game tickets and all new, HL individual membership where fans can become members and receive a unique Indy-centric T-shirt and HL glassware and gear and tickets and so much more. And then, of course, we will be at the Fan Zone, Barbasol Horizon League Championships on March 10th, a special edition live version of Corey and Schultz from 4 to 6 p.m. So you get all of it. So it's us, it's the Horizon League.
This is what
it's
day?
Gear, March 10th. I believe it's a Monday.
It is.
4 to 6 p.m. You can also look out for your school's release of Horizon League co-branded merchandise, shop.horizonleague.org. So one-of-a-kind T-shirts, Horizon League school logos and mascots, even some throwback stuff on sale now. 2 schools are scheduled to be released every week leading up into March, so keep it locked on the HL social media channels, or visit shop.horizonleague.org. I believe is it just at Horizon League on Twitter? Let me look to be sure.
In the Horizon League tournament, by the way, will be IU Indy, of course.
Yeah.
Which leads us to our upcoming Jags report. Where's our Jags?
Well, let's do that in the next segment. Let's take a break, and then we'll do that. And
where's the Jaguar?
The Jags in the news, a really scary situation with the fire as well, which we'll talk about.
Where's the Jags?
I don't know. Vince didn't bring it out. It's Vince. We'll get to that. We come back. IUND Jags report and quick hits. It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
On our 5-star customer.
Welcome back to Query and Schultz on the ISC Sports Network. My name is Jake Query. That is Derek Schultz. You just heard the fact that on March 10th we will be doing the Horizon League show from the Horizon League tournament. That takes us to our IU Indy men's report. Real quick, I want to mention this as well, Derek. I'm going off script here. You ready?
Yeah, fire away.
Since the beginning of time on my radio show, and I don't even know how this came about. It might have even been back when we were doing the radio show together. When people would call in, I don't even know where this came about, but I just started asking people, if I ever had a PBR party, would you come to my PBR party? Have you ever heard me mention a PBR party? Yes,
I've heard you mention that. Yep.
It's happening, and I'm going to utilize this opportunity to let people know about it. On March 15th at Union Jack in Broderpool, there's going to be a PBR party, a launch of a new line of Pabst Blue Ribbon, which is, of course, the great American beer. And in addition to that, The Indy 11 are in partnership with this. I love Union Jack. Union Jack's awesome in Broad Ripple, and I know Greg likes it, and they've been great. Soccer fans love it. Indy 11 will be there giving away Indy 11 tickets, but PBR will be there to promote the party as well. Just a chance starting at 4 o'clock until --.
Excuse me.
So if you want to come out, Diet Coke's perfectly sufficient. Come out, enjoy some soccer chat, get yourself tickets to the Indy 11. But most importantly, from my standpoint, the PBR party is in effect. And we're just going to sit around, have a PBR or a Diet Coke, hang out, watch sports, and enjoy the ambiance of spring.
Are you promoting your other show on this show?
No, I'm not allowed to promote this on the other show.
Oh.
It's independent. This is totally my deal.
Okay. I was going to say, because we could grab that in post if that's what you're doing. Because I have a lot of things that I do on the side that I never try to promote on this show.
Listen, this is my own deal, and I'm promoting it.
So what time are we going? What time is it?
4 o'clock, March 15th.
Okay. So I'll pick you up 1:45? Or do we have setup? Do we have balloons?
Huh?
Balloons?
PBR is going to have all kinds of stuff there. It's a PBR party.
Okay.
Yeah.
Party hats?
Yes.
Plates?
Yes.
Do you have plateware?
Yes.
Okay, a lot of times people forget plateware.
No,
Okay.
I've got
if
it.
you get the
I got
plates,
it all
then
covered.
you're like an animal.
It's at Union Jack, so
Okay.
they've got all that.
Okay.
We got it covered.
Cool. Yeah. No, it'd be great.
We'll sit around and talk about how awesome the Horizon League tournament's been, right?
Perfect. Yeah.
By the way, it is time for the Jags report from IU Indy, and we got a lot to get to, including women's basketball that we will start with. They lost at Milwaukee 77-70 over the week, but Katie Davidson, as she always does, was spectacular, led the Lady Jags with 24, and a chance to see them twice this week at home. 6:30 tomorrow, because we're airing this on Tuesday. 6:30 on Wednesday, taking on Oakland, and then Saturday at noon, both in the Jungle, Detroit Mercy. Women's basketball, Wednesday, 6:30, Oakland. Saturday, noon, Detroit Mercy. Tennis. Tennis had a split over the course of the week. They beat Marion. They lost at Ball State. But they are at home taking on Butler on Friday at 1:30 in the afternoon. No admission, free. Come by, check it out. Tennis is so awesome at a high level anyway. At the West Indy Racket Club, where you can watch. The West Indy Racket Club for tennis. Now, I'm going to do like the people doing TV these days where they just look at their phone and read everything.
Yeah, do it.
Swimming and diving. IU Indy swimming and diving teams, by the way, closed out the 2025 Horizon League Championships with several top 8 swims and a runner-up finish for the men's team. Sebastian Otero was named the Horizon League Diver of the Meet for the 3rd consecutive year. He broke the Horizon League Diver of the Meet, Sebastian Otero, for the 3rd consecutive year. Broke 2 championship records this week, along with Emily Zietlow, who broke records as well, and Eric Barnes. Congratulations to Coach Eric Barnes, the men's diving coach of the year. Women's team finished second behind Oakland, and the men's team finished second behind Oakland, and men's team finished in. Well, this says women in both.
Yeah, no,
The women's team finished second behind Oakland,
and
the men's team finished fifth. Yes,
I think is what it was. Yeah.
And then the men's basketball. I think most of you have seen the images by now, and thank goodness that everybody was okay. But let's get to first talking about what happened on the basketball floor. The IU Indy men's basketball team split their final regular season road trip, starting with their trip to Detroit Mercy on Wednesday. They beat the Titans 80-71. Paul Zelinskas has been great all year. He had 28, including 5 threes. Jarvis Walker finished with 20. Then on Sunday, they fell to Northern Kentucky with a second-half comeback falling just short, dropping 71-67. Sean Craig had 22 points. Zelinskas added 15. Zelinskas, both those guys have been great for them all season long. Here's the thing. On the way back, I think most of you have seen the images at this point. Thank goodness everybody was okay. But on their trip back from Northern Kentucky, the IU Indy men's basketball team, their bus was involved in a fire. Everybody was able to get out, but they lost, I think, $20,000 worth of equipment. And you can see the images right there.
Players' personal belongings.
Personal belongings.
Yeah.
Many people have asked how they can help out with this. Here's how you can help out and show your support. Very simply. This Thursday at the Jungle. That is the gymnasium that is inside the natatorium. At 6:30, Robert Morris,
League leader,
the top of the Horizon
league leader,
is going to be in town. And at 6:30, we absolutely would love to see everybody coming out there to pack the house. And it is, I take that back. I said the Jungle. It's the second game of the senior doubleheader at the Coliseum. Oh, that's against Wright State. Sorry. The Jags are.
The doubleheader is at the Coliseum. There's a game against Robert Morris
At the Jungle.
At the Jungle. Yes.
I wanted to make sure I got that right. So I've completely butchered this.
Yeah, it's really bad.
I'm going to read this again.
Apologies to Lauren and Ed and everybody, Luke, everybody at IU Indy.
The Jags want to pack the house on Thursday as they host Robert Morris. Then on Saturday, they have the second game of a senior day doubleheader. Yeah. That's at the Coliseum.
Yes.
6:30 Thursday, pack the house, Jungle against Robert Morris. Saturday, Coliseum, 2:30 against Wright State. There you go. Thursday, Jungle, packed house, Robert Morris, 6:30. I'm going to say it one more time. Thursday at 6:30, you want to pack the house.
You got there.
The Jungle of the Natatorium against Robert Morris.
Took you a minute, but you got there.
2:30 at the Coliseum on Saturday.
Took you a minute, but you got there.
We did.
Yeah, congrats to IUI for their successes and obviously a lot of not the kind of attention that you want. You don't want your bus to catch on fire and get that attention, but I was glad to see the outpouring of support
and that everybody was okay.
Hey, what we could do, of course, yeah, of course. A couple of quick hits to touch on here. I thought this was right in the Jake Query category. Do you know the name Clint Hill by chance?
Oh yeah, running back for the Dolphins, 77.
Clint Hill, the Secret Service agent who leaped on the back of President John F. Kennedy's limousine after the president
at the age of 93, right?
Died at 93.
He had a fascinating story because he would have been a young man, obviously. I mean, you forget he would have been, 33, 31 years old when that happened. 30, I guess. He struggled with that, had a lot of PTSD over it, and
blamed himself. And
went through a lot of depression. So, a true hero to be able to be in that right there in that dangerous situation. And his job was to protect Mrs. Kennedy, and he did that.
Apparently, he did a 60 Minutes interview with Mike Wallace in the mid-'70s and said that alleviated a lot of what was burdening him when it came to that. But still, it's something that he lived with for the rest of his life.
Right.
National tragedy. But one of the iconic moments, or the iconic photos, I guess, of that happening is him kind of leeching onto the trunk and jumping in there. And, Jackie O's in there and JFK slumped over. It's, tragic. The MLS commissioner was back in Indianapolis. Did you see this?
No.
Yeah. So Don Garber was back. He's been their commissioner for over a quarter century. Came last night. I think they actually went to the Pacers game. But came at the invitation of Mayor Joe Hogsett, who's a close friend of ours on the show from sitting with us at the game, and James. Then Dan
you got squeezed out of that.
Cordamanchi, the MLS chief communications officer. Oh, wait, no, sorry. He's the one that confirmed all of this in an email. So I guess the ball's still rolling there. It's been all quiet on the Western Front as far as the MLS team is going, but Indy's still very much in play, even though they just named their 30th team. Was it San Diego?
San Diego was named a couple of years ago, though.
But they just officially launched them as the 30th team. And finally, this is I don't know how relevant this is to anybody in Indiana, but I just want to mention it anyway. And he does have an Indiana tie that I was completely unfamiliar with. Al Trotwig passed away from cancer. He's 68 years old. He was a huge part of my life as a New York sports fan. He did the Knicks games on MSG, where he was oftentimes the pre-post game host. He was sometimes the fill-in play-by-play guy for Marv Albert and with John Andres, who has also since passed. And he handled pre and post duties for the Yankees on MSG all throughout the 90s. So all of the best Yankee teams.
He hosted a lot of those national sports, like famous bloopers and that kind of thing.
He did that too.
A lot of the Sports Century stuff he hosted.
But I read that he used to do Indianapolis 500 coverage for ABC. Like he did packages in the mid-'80s, like when the 500 was at its pinnacle, and I never once realized that. But one of those guys, and I'm sure you have Ed Sorensen and all these other people. Like Marv Albert was like my hero. Like I want to be Marv Albert. But anybody that I grew up with, like Len Berman at NBC4 in New York or Al Trotwig, like they were iconic voices and figures in my life and encouraged me to try to have a stupid show like this one when I was in my 40s.
Trotwig had a very unique ability, and this is a very commendable thing. Like Marv Albert had an aura about him, right? Al Trotwig, at least in my opinion, had a unique ability to have great voice and delivery, but just kind of be a guy.
Yeah.
It just seemed like a cool dude up there that was laid back and relaxed.
He never aged because he was cue ball bald for basically his entire career, right? And so when you look back at footage of him in 1991, it looks the same as in 2021.
Right.
But he had been struggling with cancer for the last couple of years, and I don't watch MSG anymore, so Al Trotwig has not been a fixture in my life like he was as a kid, but I did see that yesterday, and it's just very sad. So Rest in peace to Al Trowig. We come back on the show, Biter Bow Bleep from Chateau Kitchens, and we'll tie a bow on episode 225. Is that right? Wow.
Is it really?
Yeah, 225. Right. Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
Hey, AC, which games are we going to tonight?
You know we cover all sports in Central Indiana. Hop in. It's going to be a long night.
Bailey and Wood Mortgage Lender, proud partner of News 8 Sports Hummer.
Hey, AC,
Nice snap.
mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Welcome back. Final time. Corey and Schultz presented by Bailey and Wood here on the ISC Sports Network alongside Jake Corey. I'm Derek Schultz. Want to shout out our friends at Chateau Kitchens. They are fantastic. In-home transformations, that's what they're in the business of doing, whether it be a kitchen, a la Chateau Kitchens, a bathroom, a wet bar, a basement, anything. Chateau Kitchens can help you with your in-home project, anything inside of the house, inside of the walls. Go to chateaukitchens.com to put in a request to come out and take a look at your potential project. Also, you can see the before and after pictures at Chateau Kitchens on Instagram and on Facebook. Stephen Moore, their owner, is a tremendous guy, really cool guy as well. He actually just built a new home for himself as well, which is spectacular. He's got a couple of Goldies too, which you would really love. They look like really good boys, good girls as well, and it's a great family. The ones that the project managers and the designers that we've worked with have all been awesome. They've all stayed, and that says something about Stephen and just the business over there, that everybody feels like they're a valued member and they're treated as such. And obviously they treat all of their clients the same way.
Been great to us, for sure.
A+ customer service. Biter Bow Bleep, statement number 1, the Colts will not take a tight end with their first round selection. Biter Bow Bleep.
Schultz. I think they're taking tight end.
I'm going to buy it just because I think they'll take BPA.
BPA.
And BPA might not be TE. Best player available.
Okay.
BPA might be, I don't know, maybe there's an offensive guard they really like.
Possible.
Yeah. Maybe there's a middle linebacker.
They're going to need to do. They're going to need to replace Braden Smith.
No, in all seriousness, they might need to replace Braden Smith. They might need to replace Will Fry. They might need to replace 3 offensive starters on the line. Now, Taylor Bortolini is the more natural one to go on, but I still think defensively, Jake, is where most of the offense is going to remain the same, right? Like the receivers aren't going anywhere. The running backs, they need a second running back.
Defensive backfield depth.
But it's a lot of secondary, and I think you need to potentially, you might lose Dio.
Yeah.
Defensive line is another one. Not defensive tackle, but you can always use more edge players. But I'll just say, I'll say I buy it. I don't think it's necessarily absolutely going to be a tight end. Indiana will win an NCAA tournament game. Biter Bow Bleep.
Buy it.
Yeah. It could be a first 4 game.
Yeah. Okay, how about this?
I'm still going to say Bow Bleep on that. I think they're going to make the tournament at this point, but I'm if they end up as a 10 seed or something like that, I could see them.
How about this? The combined number of NCAA tournament wins between Indiana and Purdue this year will be at least 3.
Bow Bleep.
Okay.
If I had to set the over-under on that, it would be 2.5.
Right.
If I had to set the over-under.
Right. What if Indiana gets into a first 4, wins the opening round?
Yeah, it counts. But still, I would still set it at 2.5.
Okay.
I would still set it at 2.5. Final one here. Derek's birthday is more important than Jake's. Thursday. Not that you guys needed a reminder. We're in the immediate birthday vicinity now. Plans are being made. Balloons are being blown.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Especially the circumstances around my birth.
What?
Being a miracle birth. Defying medical science of the early 1980s.
What number is this for you?
42.
I wouldn't remember the 40th because I wasn't invited.
Yeah, that's Ashley's fault. I told you got to take it up with her. She handled the invite list. It was a surprise party for me. I had no idea.
How does she forget to invite me? Like, you basically planned my 50th. How does she forget to invite me?
It
to
was
the 40th?
Stolman and then all of our IU friends, though. It was just that category of friends. It was not like
Well, there wasn't anybody at my 50th.
we have other categories of friends.
There wasn't anybody at my 50th that knew you.
Oh yeah, Doug.
You had to wear a name tag.
Doug.
Okay.
Doug was asking me if I had found part-time work. But yeah, Doug was there.
My cousin. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
There were other people that knew me.
Okay.
That were there. Trust me. A lot of your friends know who I am.
Oh, sure.
Thanks to Vince and Charlie and Jordan for coming in early. Appreciate that to accommodate Jake's schedule.
That's right.
And thanks to our tremendous sponsors, Chateau Kitchens, Bailey and Wood Financial Group, the presenting sponsor of Corey and Schultz, Chili Water Tap Room, and our pals at Hoagies and Hops, 42nd and Boulevard.
Thursday, 6:30 at the Jungle. Against
And
Robert Morris. Pack it.
IU Indy Athletics for their support all year long. They've been totally awesome to work with as well. For Jake, I'm Derek. We'll see you next time here on Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
At Bailey and Wood, we